Welcome to Real Grief, Real Healing with Mindy Corporan. I am your host, Mindy. A friend of mine told me in early 2018 that she saw a vision of me with a microphone in front of me. I laughed at the time and said, "I don't see any microphones in my future." Less than a year later, I was recording my first podcast on this show. I'm not going to say, "I hope you enjoy this podcast." My podcast is not truly meant to be enjoyed. Real grief, real healing is just that, real and raw. I provide you an opportunity to learn and share in the grief others are experiencing, and then we share how they are healing or perhaps not. Grief changes each of us in some way. Many of my guests have been encouraged to open new businesses, start foundations, and in general, work to make the world around us a better place. Grief is universal. How we decide to move onward, seeking healing, is individual. A significant part of my healing comes through the courageous kindness actions of others. As you listen to my podcasts, you will hear how you can give and receive courageous kindness too. Together, we are better.
Welcome to Real Grief, Real Healing with Mindy Corporan, taking a deep dive into the reality of the difficulty grief brings and offering insight into the healing available to each of us. Today, episode 22, in conversation with Lukas Losen. And now your host, Mindy Corporan.
Hi friends, it's Mindy Corporan with Real Grief, Real Healing. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season as best you can during our COVID-19 pandemic. And if you're listening to my podcast, it might be that you are currently experiencing significant grief, or you're either moving in or out of a grief episode. Either way, thank you for listening to Real Grief, Real Healing with Mindy Corporan. In October, I produced a podcast that was meant for the holidays. I know that the holidays were extremely difficult on me the first 4 years after losing my father and son, Reet, my older son. And I felt like, and I continue to feel, that at every opportunity I can help people get through some of the most trying times of their lives. That is a personal responsibility, and I feel accountable to that since I have had to do it myself. It's a way that I can give back to others. So if you have the time, please take a listen to the podcast that I submitted and distributed the first weekend in October. We'll put a link to it in the show notes as well. My hope is that if you're grieving, that helps you continue to walk through difficult times for you. And if you're not grieving, but you want to help someone, I offer some very good insight, I think, into how to help people through the holiday season. Moving on to today, I hope you can hear me smiling. I am very excited to be sitting across from my son, Lukas Losen. Thank you, Lukas, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, it's not a business meeting. You can relax a little bit. Hopefully you'll relax in a minute. So Lukas has been with me and his dad, Len, in our new home in Pompano Beach, Florida for the last several days for Thanksgiving. And I snagged him this morning sort of early before his flight back to college, and he and I are going to have a chat. I had been thinking about how to end the year, my first year with Real Grief, Real Healing. And I felt like it was really appropriate to end it with my son, Lukas.
Well, I'm happy to be here, and thanks for wanting to talk.
Oh, I always want to talk. Okay, so Lukas, I have explained to you that what I do on my podcast is I talk to people. Some have been relatives. I've talked to Yay and Uncle Will and Uncle Tony, and I've talked to Aunt Gail, and I've interviewed Sunina, people that you know Sunina. And so what we talk about is a grief event that has happened in their lives.
Well, we know all about that.
We do. We do know all about that. So I'm going to just lead with that and let you know that you have the floor to talk about right now what grief event happened in your life.
Well, first off, the grief event that happened in my life was the exact same that happened in your life. So, April 13th, 2014, my brother, 14-year-old brother Reed, and my grandfather were shot and killed by a white supremacist. And, from there, life kind of changed, just like by a snap, by a light switch. And, we've all had our struggles since then. And I considered taking my own life at one point. And now I'm a thriving college student at the University of Arkansas and have already had an internship and plan on having more internships and, living life to the fullest. And I think it's pretty cool how some people can just turn around life when they have bad things happen. And I feel like everyone in our family has done that. And I feel like your podcast actually helps people do that when they listen to you because you're actually pretty smart. So, yeah, I mean, major grief events, major life events that happen definitely can alter you, but it's all about how you handle it. It's all about how you take it. And it's a lot on the people around you, the people that put around you. And you really see who your friends are when stuff like that happens. And if you have the right people around you, then you can get over it quicker. But if you have the wrong people around you, you may never even get over it. And so you always have to have support. And I've had a really good support system, so I was able to get over it within a few years after it all happened. I actually moved to Florida. The shootings happened when I was 12 years old. I just turned 12, and I struggled for 2-3 years, very hard. I struggled very hard, and then I moved to Florida my second semester, sophomore year, to play golf at Montverde Academy in Orlando, Florida, and there I lost 70 pounds that I had gained from eating, and I got a lot better at golf. Was going to play college golf, but I broke my wrist in October of my senior year, so I kind of put that down the drain. I got a job. I started working. I had a job this past summer, and then I decided this past summer that I wanted to go to the University of Arkansas. I wanted to go a little closer to home. I did want to be a little farther away from my parents just to have that independent lifestyle. Yeah, so I'm at the University of Arkansas. I'm pledging a fraternity. Pledging Pi Kappa Alpha at the University of Arkansas, and couldn't be happier with that. Finals are soon, so that's kind of stressful. But I'm ready for Christmas break, and first of all, I'm ready to go back. I'm very excited to go back for the last few weeks of college, and then we got Christmas break, and then New Year's, and yeah, second semester.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Yeah, we definitely shared the event. It did happen to all of us, and it was a monumental event. I feel like the important thing that has been to me to have you talk on the podcast and for you to share a little bit more is because what you experienced was different than what I experienced. And for instance, when I had Yeye on, she shared her version of what that day looked like. Uncle Will did the same, and Uncle Tony did the same, and Aunt Gail. And so, what aspect of that day are you willing to share, or do you feel comfortable sharing with us?
Well, I can just tell you the whole day from my perspective.
Okay.
So, I woke up probably 8 or 9. I walked downstairs. I had a lacrosse game that day, actually. It was a Sunday, and I had a lacrosse game. And I walked downstairs, and I see Reed getting dressed, and you're putting his tie around him and buttoning his shirt for him. He was getting dressed into a suit, and I had no idea where he was going, and honestly, I could not care less. I couldn't care where he was going. And I said goodbye. He said good luck, and I was like, all right, appreciate it. And my dad, our dad actually took me to the lacrosse game, and then we got there, and then you showed up, and there was lightning, and we didn't get to play because it got lightning. I mean, there was lightning in the area, so we didn't get to play. I just remember driving back from the game and getting a call from you. I was actually looking forward to going to church that night, and helping, like, teaching little kids in the little play area. Because, Reed and I, we would always, every Sunday night, we would always go to the little kids area and take care of the little kids the way we didn't have to sit in the service. And I was looking forward to that. And I also remember that we did not have school the next day. So I remember that he and I were going to be up all night playing video games and doing stupid stuff and wrestling and all that. So I was looking forward to that. And I just remember you calling us, and while we were in the car and just screaming frantically, and get here, Reed's been shot. And I remember my dad running several red lights to get to where we were going, and we actually went to the wrong place. We drove to the wrong place first. We went to Village Shalom, where the second shooting was. And we parked our car, and there was a woman in the parking lot being attended to paramedics. No police, no nothing around, just the paramedics. And she was obviously dead, and there was, you could tell that she had been shot. And so we realized that was the wrong place. So we got back in the car, drove down the street a little further, made it to the Jewish Community Center. And I remember the police stopped us at the top of this big hill. And we were running. We got out of the car and started running and running. I was wearing cleats, so I slipped and fell, and I remember I scraped my knee really bad. And we run to the very front, and they weren't letting us in, We had no idea where we were. We had no idea where any of our family was. It was very frantic. Everyone was trying to get in the building because there was kids in the building. And this police officer comes out, and he said, "Let these two through." And that was me and my dad. He said, "Let these two people through." So we go through, and we're walking through the building. I look to my left, to my right. There's people screaming and hugging each other and crying, and police all over. And we get to a certain area where there's bullet holes in the glass, and there's glass shattered everywhere, and there's holes in the walls, and it's just a mess everywhere. We walk into this room, and you're there, and my grandmother is in there, and you both are just crying, bawling your eyes out, and you both give us huge hugs. And you said, "Popeye's gone, Reed's on the way to the hospital." And for those of you that don't know, Popeye's my grandfather, and Yaya is my grandmother. Reed named them when he was a baby. And we walk back outside, and by this time, some of our immediate family has shown up, and they tell us where, they would not tell us where Reed was. It was very frustrating. The police officers, I don't know if they knew or didn't know, but they would not tell us. And this whole time, I'm staring out the window and looking at my grandfather's car with bullet holes in it, and his doors are open, and there's bullet holes in the glass everywhere. And it was very rough scene for a 12-year-old kid to see. And this lady that we were not getting along with finally comes over and tells us, "Hey, they're going to this hospital. They're going to Overland Park Regional." So we all hop in my dad's Tahoe and drive there frantically, going 70 in a 35. And we get there, and they put us in this room, and they said, "Just wait here. We'll tell you what's going on." Then all of a sudden, more people are showing up to support us, filtering in every few minutes. And then we had too many people there, so they put us in a bigger room and a more isolated room. And then a doctor walks in, and on my mind, I was the first to notice it. I was the first to notice that there was someone walking in, and he was in a lab coat, and it felt like he just stood there alone for 30 minutes, just watching us cry and talk, and it was very, very emotional. And he said, from what I remember, we lost his heartbeat in the ambulance. And I'm pretty sure those were the last words that I heard for the next few days. And everyone just started screaming and panicking, and it was horrible. And I remember he said he needed someone to ID the body. And I remember my Uncle Tony was the only one that was, capable of doing that, because he lost his father, but he had also lost a nephew. And I think that the impact was too hard on my mom to do that, and too hard on my dad to do that, so they wanted Tony to do it. And then after that, my childhood babysitter, Laura Carley, and her new husband, Jeff Carley, were at the hospital, and they basically took care of me for the next few days, along with tons of friends and my mom's friends and my mom's clients and all of that. And the Women Who Mean Business, this organization that my mom was involved in. I mean, oh my goodness. There's like 60 women at our house every day just begging to take me to lunch and dinner. Everyone took care of me for the next few days, and they took care of my mom and dad and all that. And that's honestly all that I remember of that day. I remember we wound up at my grandma's at some point, and the head pastor of the church that we go to showed up, and he was there talking to us, which I don't remember. I always thought that was a really big deal, because he is a really big deal, and he showed up to talk to us, like who were we to him, and we're actually really good friends with him now, which is pretty cool.
And you're talking about Pastor Adam Hamilton,
Yeah.
who's the senior pastor at the Church of Resurrection.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I think you're right. At the time when the murders happened, it happened to us, and it was a very intimate thing that happened to us. We had no idea what a huge community and then national and international event it had become. And as members of his church, that's part of a pastor's responsibility in general, is to go to people when they're in need. And so, yes, it was. I felt that same way, that when he came over, that was a big deal.
I remember looking on, his name's Zeb Lemon, and I remember looking at his phone and seeing hundreds of pictures posted on social media saying wear white for Reed Underwood on Monday or Tuesday, the next day of school. And I just remember scrolling through and seeing hundreds of photos. And that's when I realized that everyone had already heard about it. And then we turned on the TV, and it was on, Fox and CNN, and it was on all the major news channels. It wasn't even on local news channels. It was on all the major news channels. And it was just a huge deal, and I didn't realize that until the social media hit. And so that's basically what I remember from that day. Mm-hmm. Everything, the next 2 or 3 weeks are kind of blocked out. I don't really remember anything after that. But
right.
Yeah. So that's the day.
Yeah, and I've always tried to tell you often how sorry I am for that day. That I know that there was, and now I know that there was nothing that I could do about it, but I'm so very sorry that you experienced that at 12 years old.
Well, I mean, it made me into the man I am today, but
it definitely changed our lives and the trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us about, you very briefly stated that you considered taking your own life. Can you just give us a couple of elaboration on how that?
Of course.
Thank you.
I was 13, and I was struggling, and I was overweight, and I didn't think anyone liked me. Just the basics of a young, dumb kid who is just alone. And, you and Dad were great parents. You guys were great parents, and you've done more than enough for me, and more than I can ever probably do for my kids. And, I just, was lost. Some people get lost and times like that. And I just decided one day that that I didn't want to be here anymore. I felt like I was burdened. My mindset was just completely wrong. I was in a very dark place. And I did try to take my own life, and it didn't work. And I kind of, I didn't really go through with it. I tried and just didn't go through with it. And then I told one of my close friends about it, and she told the school counselor. Then the school counselor called me in, asked me about it, and then my parents were called, and then I went to the hospital, and then I was admitted into a 2 or 3 week outpatient program. I stayed at home, but I didn't go to school. I went to this outpatient program, which is basically group therapy for 8 hours a day, and it actually did help a lot. It was very interesting the first day I showed up. It was just the diversification of everyone that I was there. It was just very interesting. All the different backgrounds, like kids from all around the state of Kansas were there. I mean, you had your high school cheerleaders, you had your football phenoms, and you had, kids that thought that they were lowlifes. And it was just a very interesting mix of kids. And I think seeing that just made me realize, life's not so bad when you realize that other people are going through what you're going through. When you think that you're by yourself and you don't think that anyone else is going through it, that's when it's like you're at your darkest place. But me going there, and I realized even on my first day, like, I'm not alone. People feel the same. And so that gave me a lot of reassurance to keep going. And again, I had a relapse about a year later. And both of these times were around my birthday. And about a month before the shooting, like the reunion of the shooting. And
right. So your birthday is March 5th.
March 5th.
And the shooting was in April. And for about 3 years in a row, you significantly suffered depression leading up to your birthday.
Yes.
And we didn't notice it the first year well enough. We were not capable of understanding what was happening to you. But then the second year, it happened and we caught on very quickly. And then the third year, we were ready for it. And then the fourth year, we were ready for it. And it was less. It was much less than we were all a little bit more prepared. And your coping skills that you had learned, and from many people, from many, mostly women, but I know that one of the doctors that you saw at Research Medical was a man, but I know that many women in your life, adult women who are caregivers and professionals in their field, helped you heal, get through that time.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, tell us about a really fun day, the day that we visited 2 golf academies in Florida. Yeah. Tell us about that.
So when I was 15, was I 15?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so when I was 15 years old, so in Orlando, I went to visit this golf academy in Orlando, Florida, and it was this October of my sophomore year, and I just fell in love with it. It was beautiful. It was awesome. It was hot. It was not cold, and it was just awesome. Like, the coaches were great, and I'm a big golfer, so it was like heaven. I mean, they have a whole private area on this nice golf course, this, isolated, nice golf course, huge area. I mean, it's literally golfer's heaven. And I'm very fortunate enough that my parents were able to send me there and keep me there for my last few years of high school. And I showed up on my first day, and, my mom started crying, and everyone. And
I'm going to stop you right there. You can talk to me like you're talking to me just right now. You can say that.
Well, yeah, we showed up to there, and you started crying, and you were super sad, and you're like, don't leave me yet. And I'm just like, Mom, I'm not leaving you. It's going to be okay. Stop being a baby. And
this is when we dropped you off in January.
You dropped me off in January, yeah.
Yes, that's when we dropped you off in January. Yes, I cried because you were leaving all of a sudden so quickly. You wanted to move, and we agreed that you could move to Florida.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm very fortunate. Thanks for paying. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I was surprised that you were interested in Montverde Academy.
It was horrible.
No. Oh my gosh.
Don't get me wrong. The first few semesters, they made me shave my head. So I go to Montverde Academy, which is this very prestigious preparatory academy. It's it's not like military school or anything like that. Not to that extent. But they're very strict on rules. I mean, I would get 6 hours of detention for chewing gum. And then, I showed up, and I had this afro that I thought was the coolest thing. I thought it was super cool. You remember my afro. I mean, It was awesome. It was like 7 inches high.
It was very tall.
It was like a foot long, and it was straight up.
It was as if you had a hat on all the time.
It was awesome. I mean, everyone called me, Broccoli Rob for, broccoli or, chia pet. I mean, I got all the names
oh my gosh.
For, growing hair. And I show up, and the headmaster... Not the headmaster, this woman named Susan Totora, who she and I became very fond of each other at the end of my run at Montverde Academy. She came up and told me, your hair does not fit the qualifications for the hairstylist here. She goes, you're going to have to get your hair cut. And I was like, oh my, I got in so much trouble for being disrespectful. And that was a very, very big wake-up call to what the school was and how it ran and all that. And I did get a haircut. And then later in life, in the next few weeks, I realized, my hair was too crazy. Thank God she told me to cut it. And, but then I trained. So my daily life consisted of 6 a.m. wake up, make myself breakfast, be at the bus at 7. If you're not at the bus at 7, they leave you, and then you miss the entire day. And everything is very time oriented, and you have to be there on time. And so I have to be at the bus at 7, and then school starts at 7:45, and I had a half day of school, so I'd have 5 classes until 12:05, and then I'd have lunch until around 1 or 12:30, 12:45, and then I'd have golf practice from 1:15, 1:30 to probably around 6 usually. And then I'd get home, go to the gym. See, when I went to the golf academy, I started going to the gym. And because I wanted to look better, I wanted to, I weighed 280, 270 pounds, and I was 5'9". And so then go to the gym until probably 8, eat a little dinner, go home, do homework, and go to sleep. And that would be repeat Monday through Friday. And
it sounds a little bit like military school.
it was tough. I enjoyed it though. It was super fun.
I would share with people when they would ask about what it was like for you. Your dad and I would say it's like golf military school. I know that people thought, oh, they sent him to this golf academy and this life of luxury, etc. But you had an opportunity to flourish and to learn from other adults.
Well, I had some of the best coaches in the world. Gary Gilchrist, one of my coaches, is literally one of the top 10 junior coaches in the world. And I had the opportunity to work with him every single day. And I was around professionals all the time, which gave me the drive to, swing harder. And that's what I'm best at. I don't really have any... I had no technique when I got there. Zero. None. Like not any golf technique what you could ever say. And I would just swing as hard as I could. And I still do that to this day, but he has corrected me to probably as much as he could for me to do that. And he would always make fun of me. Gary Gilchrist, my head coach, would always make fun. He's like, Lucas, you swing as hard as you can at the ball every time. He's like, you can't do that. He's like, you can't do that. And I remember one day I did beat him, and I told him, like, yeah, well, it works for me. So, so second semester junior year, so this is a year after I had been there, I just started playing really good golf and getting college attention. And, I was locked in. I was, zoned out from the rest of the world. I was not social whatsoever. I was not going out at night. I was not really doing anything fun. I was focused on losing weight and playing golf, and I was doing really good at both. And so I got there, I think I was 5'8", probably 260 pounds, 270 pounds, and I graduated high school at 6'1", 190 pounds. So, if you do the math, like I did flourish when I was there. Like I worked my butt off to lose that weight. And I did want to play college golf, but, by the time I got to senior year and I broke my wrist, I was just like, all right, screw it. I'm going to go to college and get the college experience, get a degree if I want to, get my MBA, and start my life. And
so thank you. I want you to circle back. You elaborated on golf, which is fantastic and great, and to give Coach Gilchrist so much credit and his staff so much credit for helping you, which is absolutely true, because they coordinated your schedule and coordinated your time and put you in a position of accountability and having respect. But I want you to focus just a little bit on Montverde, because there were people there at Montverde that helped you get where you are now. What would you say to that right now?
School-wise, definitely. I was put into a little, learning program, and that helped me a little more. I got a little more one-on-one help, and because I kind of did slip through the cracks after, Reed died and all that. I just lost, touch with the world, kind of, and I just lost focus when I was in class, and I would drift off and didn't really listen, and kind of scooted my way by through middle school and freshman year and sophomore year. And but junior year, this woman, Maureen Kesserine, sat me down and she said, all right, you're going to go to college soon. You got to take your ACT, your SAT, you got to get your GPA up, you got to do this, you got to do that. And she started listing off all these things. And every other week we'd have a meeting and we'd check something off that I would complete. And then Victoria Hall is her name. She was one of my teachers, and she and Maureen Kesserine helped me like no other people in the world could ever help you. They walked me through my junior and senior year with so much guidance and taught me how to study. They taught me how to take tests. They taught me basically how to live an academic life. And that's what got me to college. I probably honestly would have had to go to community college if it wasn't for those two women. I mean, they really did reteach me the whole academic system in a span of a year and a half. And they focused on me as basically their main priority because they knew that I cared, and I worked my butt off. And I give all the credit in the world to Victoria Hall and Maureen Kessler and my two ladies at Montverde.
That I do too, because I remember as school was starting to wind up, so to speak, and we were starting your college applications, that you and I had several difficult conversations because I thought you should go to community college. I was very concerned about you going to a 4-year university and facing failure. You'd already had so much happen to you. I didn't want you to be blindsided and hit so much failure at that stage because you had climbed this ladder from the dark space. So I remember going in and talking with Mrs. Kesselring and Mrs. Hall as well, and they looked at me and they said, "Mindy, he's ready. We know he's ready." And they helped me. They helped give me assurance too, because I didn't know what was going on all the time. And you're relaxed at home, and we had easy time at home, and I didn't want to argue and fight with you about what you were doing in school. And so I let them guide you, which was, like you said, amazing and helped you get to where you are. Well, speaking of where you are and where you are going to be, you have a flight in about 2 hours.
Yes,
and
yes,
so
I do.
Thank you so much for letting me wake you up early this morning.
Of course, yeah.
And
it was a good time. I enjoyed it.
It's good. I'm glad that you did. We've had a wonderful time with you, and we're very thankful that you came to spend time with us and that you're going to come back over Christmas break.
Christmas,
yeah, we're very excited.
Be with the fam.
Yes. So just for our listeners, just tell me and them, maybe 3 things. You kind of talked about them early on when you started talking. Tell us 3 things that are key to helping someone, an adolescent, get through a really significant life event.
Well, the first thing that I liked was just let them know you're there for you. Let them know you're there for them is number 1, but only do it once or twice. Don't overbear it. Don't keep saying, "I'm here for you, I'm here for you." And if you're really there for them, show it. Let them know that you're there. Like, do something for them. Order them food. I mean, we have DoorDash now. We have, order them some insomnia cookies or something. I mean, do something for them to show them that you care, and then they'll start, leaning on you a little more.
So show up.
Show up, yeah. Don't just talk the talk. Make sure you walk the walk. Do not be afraid to tell someone's parents if they're suicidal or anything. If they say don't, I mean, you should. You 100% should tell someone. They will forgive you in the long run. It'll be better in the long run. And then the third thing, I don't really know. Just be friendly. There's really no reason to be mean to people in life. Just approach every conversation as a friend. Seek the inherent worth in each person you meet. I really do live by that now. I learned that in college. But yeah, just every person has their own worth. And when you figure out that person's worth, sometimes it's pretty cool to get to know them more. So.
I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you, babe.
Thank you.
Friends, thanks so much for joining me today for this podcast of Real Grief, Real Healing with Mindy Corcoran. If you want to dive deeper into how you might heal yourself or a friend, please pick up a copy of my book, Healing a Shattered Soul. Published on May 3rd, 2021, you can find my memoir anywhere books are sold. You will also find me in social media channels as Mindy Corcoran. Take time to help yourself heal. Accepting courageous kindness. Take time to heal another by giving courageous kindness. Together, we are better.
Real Grief, Real Healing is copyright 2021 to 2022, Mindy Corcoran, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission. This podcast is a production of 818 Studios.